Southern 500 has officially concluded from Darlington Raceway, and Chase Briscoe puts up an absolute dominant clinic and picks up his second straight Southern 500 win in 2025. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. I just got done watching the 2025 Southern 500 from Darlington Raceway. We got quite a bit to talk about from this race, so let's go and talk about it. So before the beginning of the race, a couple guys would have to drop to the rear of the field, including Todd Gillen, I believe Derek Cross, and I believe Cody Ware all had to drop to the rear for unapproved adjustments. At the start of the race, I believe you had Denny Hamlin on the outside with Chase Briscoe on the inside, and Chase Briscoe actually got a really good run going into turn number 1 and was able to take the race lead. But all of a sudden, off of turn number 2, trouble would strike. Coming off the corner, Josh Berry, who had started, I believe, inside the top 5 of the event, got really loose under Tyler Reddick, hitting one of the bumps, would go up in the racetrack and hit Tyler Reddick, and this would cause a chain reaction that would collect Kyle Busch, and a couple other drivers like Alex Bowman got damaged in the incident as well. Just a major mistake there by Josh Berry, just lost in the corner, tough breaks, he never got to see what he could have been able to do. Just a big mistake right there, got a ton of damage on the car. His night would be over at that point. On the next restart, you had Chase Briscoe lead the field from the outside with Denny Hamlin on the inside, and Chase Briscoe got a fantastic run and was able to clear for the race lead. And Chase Briscoe started pulling away from the rest of the field and started getting away at that particular point. Meanwhile, Bubba Wallace started to charge his way up to the front in the early portion of the run and would move up to second position and was gaining a ton of ground. And then we started seeing green flag pit stops. On lap 35, Chase Briscoe, Zane Smith, Ty Dillon, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. came down pit road, and then you saw other guys come down pit road, including Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, Austin Cindric, Austin Dillon, William Byron, Justin Haley. Then a couple laps later, Ross Chastain, Eric Jones, AJ Allmendinger, Cole Custer, Kyle Busch came down. Then after that, you had Ryan Blaney who came down pit road, and once the cycle had gone through, Chase Briscoe would be the leader. Bubba Wallace actually set up for a couple laps and got the lead, and then he had guys like SBG come down pit road as well, but eventually Chase Briscoe got the lead on lap number 50 and started pulling away once again. Meanwhile, he would continue to have the race lead, continue dominating, and pulled out a pretty big lead by the end of stage number 1. We started seeing green flag pit stops once again. In the middle of that run, Alex Bowman came down pit road, but he had a terrible pit stop on lap number 67. Then Bubba Wallace was closing the gap a little bit at that point, but then he had Austin Cindric and Austin Dillon coming down pit road. And then you had more guys coming down pit road at the point for the second time. And Chase Briscoe came down pit road on lap number 75, followed by Denny Hamlin, Ty Gibbs, Justin Haley, AJ Allmendinger, Kyle Busch all came down. And then Bubba Wallace and those guys came in, including Kyle Larson as well. And then eventually we would see the leader be Chase Briscoe at that point on lap number 95 of the event once the cycle had gone through lap number 84. He would have the race lead. He would start pulling away from the rest of the field. And coming out the final corner, Chase Briscoe would dominate stage number 1 and win stage number 1 here at Darlington, followed by Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain, and Bubba Wallace. During the caution, all lead lap cars would then come down pit road, with Chase Briscoe winning the race off pit road, followed by Denny Hamlin and Ross Chastain. And then on the restart, you had Chase Briscoe lead the field from the outside with Denny Hamlin on the inside, and they battled side by side for the race lead for a couple laps, and they had a really good battle at that point, with them making contact on the restart as well, and Denny Hamlin getting damaged, and Chase Briscoe eventually got the race lead and started pulling away from the field once again. Meanwhile, Carson Osbar almost had some instances between Chris Buescher and Chase Sully in the middle portion of this run, but Carson Osbar was able to continue going. Actually, Hamlin led for a few laps, and then Chase Briscoe got the lead. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin reported on the radio lap number 137 that he was reporting a potential clutch issue on the car. This would unfortunately affect Hamlin throughout the night, and his car would start fading a little bit. And then eventually we would see Ross Chastain get a great run and move up to second position. And then on lap number 152, the second caution for incident would take place going down the front straightaway. Carson Osbar got sideways coming off of turn number 4, hit the outside wall a little bit. It seemed like it just lost it off the corner and spun out a little bit, bringing out the caution on lap number 152. Then all lead lap cars would then come down pit road with Chase Briscoe winning the race off pit road, followed by Ross Chastain and Tyler Reddick. Denny Hamlin unfortunately had a terrible pit stop and lost a ton of ground on pit road and had a right rear tire issue. Ryan Blaney had a bad pit stop. William Byron had a bad pit stop. Chase Sully didn't have a great pit stop either, and they lost a ton of ground there. On the restart, you had Chase Briscoe lead the field from the outside with Ross Chastain on the inside, and Ross Chastain actually got a really good restart on Chase Briscoe, but Chase Briscoe got a really great run off turn number 4 and was able to take the race lead, and he started pulling away from the field once again. Meanwhile, Christopher Bell had some right front damage after the contact with Carson Osbar on pit road. He started fading back and losing a ton of ground. But Chase Briscoe at this point was continuing to dominate this race and will pull out to a massive lead, almost 5 seconds at that point. And then we started seeing pit stops once again. On lap 187, Tyler Reddick came down pit road, followed by guys like Ross Chastain, AJ Allmendinger, Ty Gibbs, Bubba Walls. And then eventually in the next lap, Chase Briscoe, Eric Jones, Ryan Preece, Kyle Busch, Joe Logano, Shane Van Gisbergen all came down. Chase Elliott stayed out for a little bit. And once cycle had gone through, Chase Briscoe will once again have the race lead by 2 seconds. But then everything would change on lap 2 or 3 of the event when Cody Worth spun off in turn number 3 from 28th position. He just lost it off the corner, unfortunately. Had a little bit of help from Ryan Preece while getting into the back of him, unfortunately. Got some damage on the car that would bring out the caution on lap 203. And then all the lap cars would then come down pit road with Chase Briscoe once again winning the race off pit road, followed by Tyler Reddick and Eric Jones. And then on the next restart, you had Chase Briscoe lead the field from the outside with Tyler Reddick on the inside, and Chase Briscoe had a fantastic restart and was able to clear for the lead after Reddick fought him for a little bit, then Briscoe continued to pull away with the race lead. But all of a sudden, we would have a crash happen on lap 209 when one of the playoff contenders, Ryan Blaney, spun off turn number 4 after contact with Austin Dillon coming off of turn number 4, and Ryan Blaney was spinning the inside wall, but luckily not much damage on the car. This would bring out the yellow tough break for Ryan Blaney, whose car would never be the same after that. Kyle Busch checked up, almost spun out, and then Ryan Blaney just had nowhere to go and almost clipped them at that point, but this would bring out the caution. And then on the restart, you had Chase Briscoe lead the field from the outside with Tyler Reddick on the inside, and Chase Briscoe actually got the early jump, but then Tyler Reddick fought back for the lead and got the lead in turn number 1, but eventually Chase Briscoe had a really, really good run and was able to take the race lead once again. He would start pulling away once again and continue to have the lead, and coming off the corner, Chase Briscoe would continue his domination and win stage number 2, followed by Tyler Reddick, Eric Jones, Kyle Larson, and AJ Allmendinger. And then under caution, all lead lap cars have then come down pit road, with Chase Briscoe winning the race off pit road, followed by Tyler Reddick and AJ Allmendinger. And then on the restart, we had Tyler Reddick lead the field from the outside with Chase Briscoe on the inside, and Chase Briscoe actually got a decent start, but Tyler Reddick got a much better restart and cleared for the lead in turn number 1 and had the lead for a couple laps. But then a couple laps later, Chase Briscoe, he got a fantastic run and would go back to the race lead on turn number 2 and would start pulling away with the lead once again with over 2 seconds. And then we started seeing green flag. Actually, we saw Tyler Reddick closing the gap on Chase Briscoe as this race went on, as Reddick car seemed to be getting a lot better in the long run, while Chase Briscoe's car was starting to lose a little bit. But then we started seeing green flag pit stops at lap 273. Joe Logano, Chris Buescher, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell came down pit road. Same with Kyle Larson, Austin Cindric. And then eventually, as the run continued on, Chase Briscoe came down pit road after staying out for a little bit of time. And then he would have the race lead once again as Shane Van Gisbergen lost the lead after leading a few laps as he was trying to stay out long. Chase Briscoe would have the race lead at that point. There actually be some contact in lap 2, number 91 of the event when Chris Buescher got some contact in the outside wall after his contact with Ross Chastain, and Buescher still continued going. Then eventually Shane Van Gisbergen would come down pit road, executing a one-step strategy, trying to make it to the end. But then all of a sudden, on lap 313 of the race, the final caution of the day would come out when Derek Cross's car unfortunately caught fire coming off of turn number 2. This would screw Shane Van Gisbergen out of a shot of picking up the win and victory, perhaps for getting a really solid finish. And Derek Cross's night would be over after already being in the caution and basically being many laps down as it is. He would affect the outcome of this race. And then all lead lap cars have then come down pit road for the final stop, with Chase Briscoe winning the race off pit road, followed by Tyler Reddick and John Hunter Nemechek. And on the final restart of the race, you had Chase Briscoe lead the field from the outside with Tyler Reddick on the inside, and Chase Briscoe got another fantastic restart and got the lead. Tyler Reddick would challenge for a little bit, but then Briscoe once again was able to clear for the race lead, and then he started pulling away a little bit. But all of a sudden, the handling on Chase Briscoe's car started coming away from him, and Tyler Reddick and guys like Eric Jones and John Hunter Nemechek were starting to close in up front. But we all know what goes on with the next-gen car. When a dirty air comes into play, even if Reddick does have a better car than Briscoe, he can't really make the moves to get by. He would try to get there with 20 laps to go in the race and started pulling away once again with 15 laps to go. But then as they caught the lap traffic, he started losing a little bit of ground and Reddick started closing in. With 6 laps to go, Tyler Reddick tried to make a move to the inside of Chase Briscoe going into turn number 3, but lost handling on the car and lost a ton of ground at that point. And then Chase Briscoe started pulling away once again. With 2 laps to go in the race, Tyler Reddick once again closes the gap, makes a run at him going into turn number 1 on the white flag of the event. Reddick tries to close down the back straightaway, gets a little aero tight behind Chase Briscoe. He tries to get there. He goes into 3, tries to make the move to the bottom, but he doesn't have enough run, and coming off the final corner, Chase Briscoe leads 309 of 367 laps and picks up his second straight Southern 500 win, locks his way into the round of 12 of the playoffs, and picks up his 4th win of his NASCAR Cup Series career, and back-to-back Southern 500 wins as well. What an absolute dominant night for Chase Briscoe. He had the best car by a mile all night long. Maybe lost some of the handling on the longer run especially, but that 19 car was so strong all night long. This is the best race I think Chase Briscoe has ever put together in his NASCAR Cup Series career. He leads 300 laps. The last time that happened was a long time ago. I think maybe Kyle Larson back in 2018, I'm pretty sure. What an absolute dominant night for Briscoe. Many drivers who led 200 laps have not been able to go to victory lane, but Chase Briscoe executed a flawless night all day long. Congratulations to Chase Briscoe on picking up the win. So now we'll go ahead and take a look at the race results, and we'll take a look at the playoff standings, and then we'll talk about the overall race as a whole. So Chase Briscoe picks up the win. Tyler Reddick finishes second. I think he had a better car at the end than Briscoe there, but because of the dirty air, among other things, he ran out of chance and opportunity to go out there and pick up the win. But what a great night for Tyler Reddick. Had one of his best runs all season long. Not enough to get it done, but put together a really strong finish. He finishes second. Erik Jones finishes third. There's something about coming to Darlington where Erik Jones is amazing at Darlington, because tonight he had an unbelievable run. He was up there contending for the win near the end. Not enough to get it done, but a great night for the Legacy Motor Club drivers. He finishes third. Great run for Erik Jones. Same thing for John Hunter Nemechek. A great night for John Hunter tonight. He ran inside the top 5 and top 10, plays some strategy early, and gets a really strong top 5 finish. Best run John Hunter's had, I think, in his Cup career at this point. Amazing run for John Hunter. He finishes 4th. AJ Allmendinger finishes 5th. A great night for AJ Allmendinger. Ran in the top 10 all night long. Shows some really strong pace and really solid speed throughout the day, and gets a really solid and really fantastic top 5 finish. Great run for AJ Allmendinger. Bubba Wallace finished 6th. A solid night for Bubba Wallace. It seemed like they lost a little bit of the handling as the night went on, but they didn't really lose a ton of positions throughout the night. A good night for Bubba. Bubba needed a really good night, especially with the points that he had. He's had a lot of speed this year. Great night for Bubba to finish inside the top 10. Not enough to go to victory lane, but he had a really good night all night long. He finished 6th. Denny Hamlin finished 7th. A solid top 10 run for Denny Hamlin considering the damage that he had. A nice to stop the bleeding as well after some not so great runs. I think the damage affected Hamlin, but he does come home with a solid top 10 finish in 7th. Good run for Denny Hamlin. Kyle Busch finished 8th. A quiet top 10 night for Kyle Busch. A nice rebound run. This team's had some speed at points this year, but they haven't really executed a lot of great finishes. But tonight they had a solid night all night long. Ran inside a top 10 near the end and gets a really strong 8th place finish. Good night for Kyle Busch. Carson Hocevar finished 9th. Hocevar, after having a terrible car early in the race, they had a bounce back and recovered and comes home to a really strong top 10 finish in 9th place. Good run for Carson Hocevar. And Chris Buescher finishes 10th. A decent night for him, the best of the RFK bunch tonight. Shows some decent speed. Comes home with a top 10. Pretty good night for him. Ross Chastain finished 11th. I know he finished 11th in this race, but he had a really solid car tonight. He ran top 5, top 10 most of the night. They lost handling on that car. They also had fuel issues, which cost him a shot, maybe a top 5s. I think they had a top 5 car, but Ross had one of his better nights, but still looking for that first top 10 and only a second top 10. Just not enough to get it done tonight, but a decent finish, all things considered. Austin Cindric finished 12th. A decent night for him. Thought he run a little worse tonight, to be honest, but he does lead the Penske brigade a little bit off of the Penske cars. But Cindric did have a top 10 car at points. He finished 12th. Pretty decent night for him. Zane Smith gets a top 15 and 13th place. Not a bad run for him. Noah Gragson gets a top 15 and 14th. A decent night for Noah Gragson inside the top 15. Brad Keselowski finishes 15th. Not a bad night for Brad considering they were terrible early in this race, but they bounce back and recover and get a solid top 15 finish. Ryan Preece finished 16th. I don't know what happened to the 60 car, to be honest. Near the end, it seemed like they lost handling on that car because he had a top 10 car quite a bit of this race, but they lost some of the handling. He finished 16th. Chase Elliott finished 17th. He is the best finishing Hendrick Motorsports car tonight. Hendrick was way off tonight. I don't know where the speed went for especially the 5 car that we'll talk about in just a minute. But that 9 car had no speed whatsoever. They struggled all night long. A little concerning to see the lack of speed from the Hendrick cars tonight altogether. Elliott leads the brigade. He finished 17th. Ryan Blaney finished 18th. He had about an 8th to 10th place car most of the night as it is. He just never had the speed under him. Then the damage really affected him. He does recover to finish inside the top 15, 820. So not bad, all things considered. But it could have been a much better finish. He finished 18th. Kyle Larson finished 19th. I don't know where the handling went on this 5 car because really through the first 300 laps of this race, Kyle Larson had a top 5 car, maybe a top 10 car. But he never had the race-winning speed. Again, I mentioned this about the Hendrick cars. I think they're definitely off right now at the moment. I just don't see the speed from the Hendrick cars right now. A little concerning to see Larson, who's been really good at Darlington in the past, just not showing the speed. He finished 19th. Joey Logano finished 20th. Logano was way off all night long. He ran between 20th and 25th a lot of this race. There's just no speed in that 22 car whatsoever. This is what I was worried about coming into the playoffs. Just a lack of speed from the 22. He finished 20th. William Byron finished 21st. Byron did get some damage and had some bad pit stops tonight, but they had no speed in that car like Larson. They had about a 10th to 15th place car at best. Just no speed from the 24. He finished 21st. Ty Gibbs finished 22nd. Austin Dillon finished 23rd after qualifying while they struggled all night long. Terrible night for the 3 team. He finished 23rd. Cole Custer finished 24th. Daniel Suarez finished in 25th. Todd Gillen finished 26th. Justin Haley finished 27th. Riley Hurst finished 28th. Chris Bell had damage on the car. Never was a factor after his issues. He finished 29th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finished 30th. Alex Bowman finished 31st. They struggled all night long. They were terrible throughout this whole entire race. Bowman was at best about a 23rd place car. Just no speed from the 48 tonight. He finished 31st. Shane Van Gisbergen finished 32nd. He was at times in the top 20, but they need to have a really good night tonight to have a chance to make it out of this run. I don't see SVG making it out of this run. Unfortunately, they really had bad execution tonight at points. I think Steven Durant keeping out as long as they did was a really bad call for the team. They waited way too long to come down pit road. They could have been benefited if they came in or waited at that thing. It happened a little bit earlier, but just not a great night for SVG. He finished 32nd. Michael McDowell finished 33rd. Ty Dillon finished 34th. Timmy Hill finished 35th. Derek Cross finished 36th. Cody Ware finished 37th. And finishing last in 38th place is Josh Berry, who crashed out. So now, let's go and take a look at the playoff standings after the first race of the round of 16. So Chase Briscoe, of course, is locked into the next round. Denny Hamlin, despite his issues, is 43 points above the cutoff line in second. Kyle Larson is 38 points up currently at the moment in third. Tyler Reddick is 35 points up. William Byron and Bubba Wallace are tied for being 25 points up. Ryan Blaney, despite his issues, is still 22 points up. I think he actually gained on the cutoff line, as a matter of fact. Ross Chastain also gained tonight. He's 21 points above the cutoff line. Austin Center is 12 points above. Decent night for him. Christopher is 11 points above the cutoff line. Chase Led's up by 9. And despite the fact that Shane Van Gisbergen struggled tonight, he is 3 points above the cutoff line. That's a little better than I thought he was going to be. Joe Logano is 3 points below. Austin Dillon is 8 below. Josh Berry is 19 below. And then you have Alex Bowman, who's 19 below. I think Alex Bowman is in a must-win situation. Josh Berry thinks the same thing as well, because I know you can make up 19 points, but I don't see the speed from the 48, especially after tonight. We're going to Gateway. I worry about that. I actually think Joe Logano has a really good chance of getting out of this run. I think SVG is the one I'm most concerned about at this point, which is unfortunately not shocking and surprising. I think Cindric and Bell, I think, are going to be fine. Blaney's going to be fine. I worry about Ross Chastain going to Gateway a little bit, but outside of that, I think a lot of these guys are perfectly fine. If you're over 20 points up at this point, I think you're going to make it out of this at that point. So now, let's talk about the overall race as a whole, and I'll get my score and thoughts on today's race. Now, the Southern 500 is a race that normally is an event that you do have a lot of long green flag runs from time to time, and you also have a lot of times where it is definitely very difficult to pass. I will say there was a lot of dirty air issues with this next-gen car. I think you saw more side-by-side racing in this race than the spring race at Darlington. I think this race is definitely better than the spring race for sure, and I think there was definitely some good moments in this race for sure. But like I've already said, we still got to get the next-gen car fixed. There's no reason that guys who have fast enough cars like Blaine, maybe like William Byron's, for example, or some guys like Bell, should not have been able to pass some of the faster cars in particular. You could clearly see that Tyler Reddick and those guys behind him like Eric Jones and John Hunter were clearly faster than Briscoe at the end. But because of all the dirty air and all this stuff with this next-gen car, with Darlington being a one-groove racetrack, it was definitely very difficult to pass. I still have fun with the race tonight. I think the USA broadcast actually did a really solid job with the coverage. charge. They didn't focus on Chase Briscoe the whole entire time, which is great to see. I think that made the race more compelling and more interesting for me. My score of the Southern 500 is going to be around a 7 to 7.5 out of 10. I think this race had some good moments for sure. Wasn't perfect by any stretch of imagination. Again, we got to get this action car fixed at these types of tracks for this race to be good, but at least the most deserving driver won. I think it was a decent race, not a great race by any stretch of imagination, but it was a solid race for sure. My score is a 7 out of 10. So that is going to be it for the Southern 500 review from Darlington Raceway. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me to Facebook and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Let's get more of that and comment your thoughts below on today's race. Your thoughts on today's race, let me know below. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and congratulate Chase Briscoe on winning the Southern 500. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tomorrow on the channel, we're going to have a NASCAR news video discussing news over the course of the last couple days. We got Stenhouse kind of retracting the rumors going on. We got some IndyCar silly season stuff. We'll talk about the IndyCar race from earlier today at Nashville. Talk, of course, about the F1 race as well. Talk about some of the lawsuit updates that have come out recently. And if any other major news breaks later this week, we'll discuss it live as well. We got a lot of content dropping on Tuesday. I'm going to have a video talking about 10 drivers who could join the college truck ram program, it sounds like. We'll talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about a lot of people like Haley Deegan, Shaman Gisborne, Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Bolas, Ross Chastain, Sheldon Creed, Sam Mayer, Frankie Muniz, Cletus Afron, Dodge Ram, Will Brown, Jack Perkins, Brock Feeney, all the good stuff, Eric Amarola. We'll talk about all this stuff on the channel in the coming days and weeks as well. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode. I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.